The Brooklyn courtroom was packed, but silence ruled like a judge itself, until an 8-year-old boy stood up. Marcus Johnson, small frame, trembling hands, but eyes sharp with a strange, stubborn courage, asked, "Your Honor, may I speak?" Judge Carter froze mid-note, his pen hovering. In 3 decades, he had never heard a child interrupt a felony fraud trial. The jury shifted uneasily. The defendant, Dorothy Johnson, age 72, Marcus's grandmother, sat pale and tired, accused of stealing $175,000 from a housing program she had nurtured for years. The prosecution smiled, ready to swat away this disruption like an annoying fly. But Marcus held a folder thicker than some lawyers' briefs. Inside, papers, receipts, photos, and something else. A quiet fire no one had prepared for. "Your Honor," he said with a voice steadier than his shaking knees, "my grandmother is innocent. I can prove it." A ripple moved through the courtroom. Some chuckled, others frowned. Judge Carter finally leaned forward. "Son," he said carefully, "children don't testify in fraud cases." Marcus looked him dead in the eye. "Maybe not, sir, but lies don't care about age, and neither should the truth." And with that, the trial turned upside down. Marcus didn't want to be a hero. He wanted his grandmother back. Since losing his parents in a car accident 2 years ago, Dorothy had been his anchor, his safe place. Now she sat behind a defense table that reeked of injustice. Her attorney had abandoned her the night before, citing non-payment. Translation: he didn't believe she'd win. The prosecutor, David Richardson, a sharp-suited man with a 95% conviction rate, was already mentally celebrating another easy win. So Marcus did the unthinkable. He prepared to defend Dorothy himself, not as a lawyer, but as a witness who had done the homework no adult bothered to do. The judge, after a long pause, finally said, "5 minutes, young man. No more." Richardson rolled his eyes. "We can't seriously—" But Carter silenced him with a look. Something about Marcus's tone wasn't childish begging. It was controlled, factual. Marcus stepped to the stand, folder in hand. He placed it gently on the table, like a surgeon setting down instruments before a critical operation. "Your Honor," he said, "I'm not here to argue. I'm here to show you what everyone else missed." The jury leaned forward. A storm was coming. Marcus began not with accusations, but with memories. "Every Sunday night," he said, "Grandma Dorothy and I sat at the kitchen table. She checked every bill, every receipt, every penny for the housing program. I helped sort them. Blue for expenses, yellow for income." A juror smiled faintly. Another shifted, uncomfortable. "She never touched a dime that wasn't hers," Marcus continued. "But 3 weeks before the money disappeared, she noticed someone had been tampering with the account." He held up a notebook, pages worn, handwriting shaky but precise. Dorothy had documented every odd withdrawal, every unexplained expense. "Did anyone ask for this before?" Marcus asked, turning toward the prosecution's table. Richardson scoffed. "Irrelevant." "Or inconvenient," Marcus shot back, polite but lethal. Carter raised an eyebrow. A child shouldn't be able to rattle a veteran prosecutor, but he had. Dorothy's eyes filled with tears as Marcus flipped through the pages, narrating dates, amounts, and discrepancies. The courtroom, once amused, now sat in tense, attentive silence. For the first time, the possibility crept in. Maybe this wasn't just a sweet boy trying to save his grandma. Maybe he was right. Marcus's voice grew steadier with each word. "September 12th, he said. $2,500 withdrawn for roof repairs. I went with Grandma to check. The roof was fine, no repairs." He held up a photograph, a grainy, time-stamped image of the untouched shingles. "September 18th, $1,800 for security equipment. No new cameras, no receipts." Each transaction Marcus listed was a nail in Richardson's carefully polished case. Richardson objected, once, twice, 3 times, but each objection sounded, weaker, more defensive, like a man realizing the ground beneath him was cracking. And then Marcus asked the question that froze the room. "Dr. Richardson, did you verify that any of the companies paid with this money actually exist?" Silence. Richardson's jaw clenched. "No further questions?" Marcus said, but his tone implied something terrifying. He wasn't asking for permission anymore. He was dismantling the state's case piece by piece. The jury now stared at Richardson, not Dorothy. And for the first time in the entire trial, David Richardson looked nervous. Marcus laid out 2 sets of documents. "These signatures," he said, "are supposed to be my grandmother's." He pointed to the withdrawals in question. "But these," he held up older verified documents, "are her real ones." The difference was clear even to the untrained eye. One set smooth and flowing, the other sharp, heavy, deliberate. "I'm just a kid," Marcus said, "but even I can see these aren't the same." Richardson pounced. "We're not basing fraud analysis on a child's doodles." Judge Carter leaned in, studying the papers. "Actually," he said slowly, "the variance is significant." A murmur passed through the room. Marcus struck again. "Did the prosecution request a handwriting analysis?" No answer. "You assumed guilt," Marcus said, "instead of proving it." The statement landed like a blow. Even Carter sat back, eyes narrowing at Richardson. The jury exchanged glances. The case had shifted. What once looked clean now smelled rotten. And an 8-year-old had opened the window. No one knew that behind Marcus's composure stood Patricia Williams, a retired librarian and former paralegal. When Marcus had wandered into the public library asking for books on legal defense, Patricia had seen the spark immediately. "You have a gift," she'd told him. "But gifts need discipline." For 2 months, they worked in secret, after school, after homework, in quiet corners of the library. Patricia taught Marcus strategy, how to ask questions in order, how to reveal weaknesses without appearing combative, how to keep composure even when dismissed. Marcus absorbed it like oxygen, and now, in a room full of adults who underestimated him, every quiet night of study paid off. He wasn't improvising, he was executing. Marcus presented hospital records showing Dorothy had been with him during one of the largest fraudulent withdrawals. "A provable alibi," the jury whispered. The judge leaned forward. Richardson's face turned pale. Marcus then revealed a call. Log, a phone call from the housing office at the exact time of the transfer. "And here," Marcus said, "is the call record from the bank. Same time, same account access." Richardson objected, but his voice cracked. The courtroom energy had shifted entirely. For the first time, Dorothy looked not like a defendant, she looked like a victim of a prosecutor's rush, a system's prejudice, and someone else's greed. Marcus wasn't just saving her, he was exposing them. Marcus placed a sealed envelope on the witness stand. "Inside," he said, "is proof of who really stole the money." The room went electric. "Dr. Richardson," Marcus said calmly, "would you like to withdraw the charges before I open it?" Richardson's hands twitched. His forehead shone with sweat. He tried to laugh. It came out brittle. "I don't take orders from children," he snapped. Marcus opened the envelope. Inside, a recording. Richardson's voice, clear, damning. "Doesn't matter if she's guilty. I need this conviction. Before election season." Gasps. A juror covered her mouth. The judge went stone-faced. The boy had just detonated a career. Richardson was arrested in that very courtroom. Dorothy's charges were dismissed immediately. Judge Carter, visibly moved, told Marcus, "In 30 years I have never seen justice fought for with more heart or more skill." The press flooded in. Brooklyn had just witnessed something historic. An 8-year-old had cracked open a corrupt prosecution and saved an innocent woman. Dorothy held Marcus close, tears soaking his shoulder. He whispered, "I told you, Grandma, the truth wins." And this time it had. 6 months later, Marcus stood at a law school lectern, not as a student but as a guest. He spoke to 300 future lawyers about justice, courage, and love. His project, the Marcus Initiative, now taught kids in 25 schools their legal rights. Dorothy, now honored citywide, worked on housing reform with the same quiet passion as always. Richardson? Convicted, disbarred, forgotten. But Marcus's words would not be. Justice, he told the students, isn't about winning. It's about protecting what matters, even when no one believes you can. And the applause that followed wasn't just respect. It was hope. Because somewhere in Brooklyn, a boy had proven that truth, when carried with love, could bring down walls, built by greed, prejudice, and power, and the world would never forget it. Please like and subscribe for more interesting stories.